Well, the judge puts Diego Pavia's decision on hold. Nate Johnson hits the portal. Vandy has some tough decisions at quarterback coming up. What are they going to do?
You are Locked On Vandy, your daily podcast on the Vanderbilt Commodores, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Corey Burton. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube as a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. So visit FanDuel.com to get started. Now, Vandy, it's early signing period, right? So Vandy signed a small but impactful, extremely impactful class for this early signing period. They got some playmakers on offense at QB, wide receiver, running back. However, where's the beef? No offensive lineman. Is that a problem? Defensively, they got some real difference makers as well. I think Vandy's going to hit the portal hard. This is what this class tells me. And they're going to get some experienced players to bolster their roster to kind of go with some of the youth that they have in the roster now and help develop that. So at the quarterback position, though, this is where it gets tough. This is where it gets tricky. Nate Johnson hits the portal. And, well, you know, the decision on Diego Pavia is delayed by the judge. So what does that mean for the quarterback position? Because here's the thing when you're looking at this, you have to understand that the portal opens officially on Monday. And you would have thought the trial happened today as I'm recording this, and you would have thought there was a decision to be made. And there wasn't. The judge delayed it. They're waiting to get some more information from the NCAA to see if they really need to really take this thing to trial, or, you know, whatever the case is, whatever the case needs to be. They're just waiting on to get some more information so they can make a better, more informed decision. So that leaves Vandy kind of in a lurch. Okay. That leaves Vandy kind of in a tough spot because, yeah, Diego Pavia has all the star power that you want. What he did for this program was nothing short of amazing. Now, yeah, he does have his limitations, but those are some things that he would obviously, if he comes back, obviously improve on those things throughout the spring. And I think second year in Tim Beck and Jerry Hill's offense, I think you work on that. You get some playmakers out through the portal. You get some more help on the offensive line through the portal. You kind of have a better plan of how you want to build your roster, because, hey, you know that this piece, you know that the main piece, Diego Pavia, is back in the fold. So with that indecisiveness from the judge, that leaves Vandy with a major decision. Well, now Nate Johnson is gone. Nate Johnson's like, well, I don't know what's going to happen, but I think he sees the writing on the wall that the plan is not him. I think with him not playing late in the season when Diego Pavia was really beat up and banged up, I think that kind of told him that quarterback may not work out for him as a position. He may have to explore other options. So he's going to hit the portal and just kind of see what those options are. But the question is, how should Vandy treat this? How should Clark Lee treat this in the portal? Because there's some studs out there. All right. Fafita from Arizona is out there. Jackson Arnold just hit the portal. John Mateer, he's still in the portal. You do have a chance until he signs somewhere, but the overwhelming money is the odds are probably he's going to end up with Ben Arbuckle at Oklahoma. I think that's why Jackson Arnold hit the portal. But you got Connor Wegman in the portal, which I don't know that he's in the mix, but you likely will have CJ Bailey from NC State in the portal. But you're gonna get some names at the quarterback position in the portal. So you have to understand that, hey, if they're going to rule against Diego Pavia, we've got to go get somebody that has some star power. We don't want to be left hanging on with our hands on the bag going, oh, okay, we didn't get what we needed. And the incident and they screwed us on Diego Pavia and we kind of screwed ourselves waiting. So what do you do in this scenario? And that's the toughest part, because you have to almost plan, even though it was encouraging until they say otherwise, because usually it goes negatively. You have to assume that they're not going to let Diego Pavia come back. They're going to treat that JUCO year as a year of eligibility, which means he is for all intents and purposes out. But if they made it, they felt good. They felt like they made a good case. They felt like they stated what they need to state, and they felt like they presented their case fairly and effectively. So they feel good about it. Diego Pavia's attorneys, Diego Pavia himself, I'm sure feels good about it. So that's encouraging if you're excited about getting Diego Pavia back. And I think that's a game changer if you do, because I think that gives a whole jolt to this team. I think everybody's kind of waiting and seeing. Diego Pavia is an electric personality. He is an absolute magnet. So when that happens, I think you're going to see a boost into this team and a boost in the portal with what they go after. So, but in the meantime, unfortunately, you're probably just left to pick up the pieces and say, okay, what do we get? Do we ride? They signed Jack Elliott too, in the high school class. They got Jeremy St. Hilaire and Whit Muschamp that they signed last year. So they got some talented young guys. Do they roll the dice on that and say, okay, we're gonna roll the dice through this first portal window to say, okay, Diego's coming back. We're going to roll the dice on that. And if he doesn't come back, we've got some talent in the room with Blaze Berlowitz, Drew Dickey. We feel good about Jeremy St. Hilaire. We feel good about Whit Muschamp. We feel good about Jack Elliott. We feel good one of those people are going to emerge as our number one if Pavia is in fact ruled ineligible. Because you're not, if you do that, if you play that game, you're not going to get Jackson Arnold. You're not going to get Fafita. You're not going to get some of these other guys that are likely to hit the portal. Haynes King may hit the portal as a graduate transfer. You've got some other names that are going to hit the portal. Like you're going to have to go down and get a G5 guy that's a good fit. Like Kyron Drones probably won't be around if he hits the portal. And you roll the dice on Diego Pavia. Like you're not going to get quite the star power at that position that you would get if you went aggressively. So what do you do? Do you go all in on a Jackson Arnold and say, hey, we're going to let the chips fall where they may. If Diego Pavia comes back, then he'll make a decision on whether he wants to stay. And I think Diego Pavia, with 2 feet, 10 toes, wants to stay in Nashville, and he is 100% in. But what do you do in that scenario? Now you got two quarterbacks. You get a full-on competition. You just kind of see where it takes you. I don't know. And if you're listening, let me know your opinion on the comments. Here's the question: do you treat it as Diego Pavia is not coming back and go after full force in the portal at quarterback position, or do you roll the dice and say, okay, maybe we'll get a late addition quarterback from the portal. Maybe we'll get a guy that's taking his time making a decision. Maybe we'll get one of these. Maybe we will put all our eggs in our evaluation of like Gio Lopez from South Alabama and say, okay, we can make this guy into a star. We made Diego Pavia into a star. That wasn't really difficult though, because he has star personality, chip on his shoulder type personality. So what do you do in that scenario? To me, with what Diego Pavia does for your program, what he did for your program, I think you owe that to him. That's my answer. I think you owe that to him. And I think you have to say, all right, we're going to ride this until we can't anymore. And then, they're going to rule on that hopefully sooner rather than later so that you have time to jump in on some star power if you don't get it. But I think you roll the dice here, and then you just play whatever cards, you just play your hand, and then you try to make the best of your hand that you can. You signed a really good freshman quarterback in Jack Elliott. You signed a pair of them last year from Chattanooga, and I guarantee you Carson Lawrence will tell you Jeremy St. Hilaire is the real deal. Right. So you've got options. I don't see Berlowitz or Dickey sticking around personally. I just don't see it. I don't see them. I think they're going to, I don't know. Maybe they do, but maybe they're finishing. Maybe Dickey's finishing his degree and he's going to go somewhere as a graduate. I don't know. I don't think there's an avenue for. I don't know, but I think you roll the dice. I think you owe that to him. That's where I'm at on this. I think Diego Pavia has earned that right, and I think he's earned it. Even though he kind of sputtered and was beat up down the stretch of the season, I think you owe that to him. I think Vandy is going to build their roster accordingly. I think they're going to get there's some really good offensive linemen starting to hit the portal. I think you get Gabe Fields in the backfield. I think he's going to be a lot of help. He's a special dude, young guy. You get Cedric Alexander back. You're going to have some electricity out at wide receiver when Junior Sherrill comes back, and then you have the Tristan Brown, Joseph McVay, and then the guys I'm going to talk about here in just a little bit. I think you have options. I think you build around that, and then you start to really hammer that pass game. Get that right. Get your offensive line. Get that right. And you'll go from 6 wins to 8, 9 wins. You will have a chance to win 10 games for the first time in school history. Maybe not next year, but the year after if you continue this trend. So rolling the dice may pay off. It may not. You may get stuck. But I think there's enough talent in this quarterback room that I think you got to be willing to roll the dice. So, best of luck to Nate Johnson. Hope he ends up in a great situation. As always, hope he's super successful. But early signing period, right? Got some studs, small class. We'll talk about them next. All right, America, do you want to get on some NFL action this weekend? Well, you can with FanDuel, America's number one sports book, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. Unfortunately, you cannot take Derrick Henry for an anytime touchdown this week because he's on a bye. So I'm going to take Saquon Barkley in that. I'm also going to take Nick Westbrook-Akina in an anytime touchdown because he's going to score. Right. So the FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. So just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen each and every day. We've got a squad episode dropping if it hasn't already dropped. So be sure to check that out. You're going to love it. I promise you. It's a lot of fun. And it's going to continue too, even through basketball season. And as I'm recording this, Vandy is up on Virginia Tech. That's becoming a duel in the ACC SEC challenge. So if you're not rooting for this basketball team, you should be. But anyway, check out Locked On SEC for your second listen. Now, early signing period. Okay, this is usually an exciting time. For college football fans, recruiting, National Signing Day, the flips, the drama, all that stuff. But with portal NIL, it's not as big. But that doesn't take away from super talented kids making the transition from high school to college. So we want to give them their shine on this day. They're making their decisions. They're entering into programs, and for the first time, not the first time, but like now you can make a decision. And you can get out of that decision for various reasons. Like, let's say your coach gets fired and you want to jump out, you can jump into the portal right away. So there's some get out of jail free cards almost. If I'm using a Monopoly card here, there's some, you can get out of a bad situation. You don't really want to get in that habit, but you can. But anyway, I digress there. But Vandy, they signed a smaller class, but I think there's a lot of studs. There's a lot of star power in this class, actually. I really like this class from like a chip on the shoulder, like nasty. I think it was obvious they were looking for a certain mentality when they were recruiting. And I think that they didn't want to sign guys just to sign guys, because now the portal's very active and you can get guys. So positions of need, you can get that. And you can get specific guys, you can get experience through the portal. So I think Vandy is now, I think they're now favoring quality over quantity. And so when you do that, you have a better chance of hitting on these signees and also retaining these signees, because you sign guys just to sign guys, and all of a sudden these guys just flutter away. So, but offensively, man, like one of the biggest areas of need for Vandy offensively, obviously, was the wide receiver position. And I talked about Jack Elliott. He's a stud. He's kind of they're comparing him to Diego Pavia. They're saying mentality wise, ability wise, he's probably a better passer than Diego Pavia, and obviously younger, so he's got more of a ceiling in the passing game. So it's going to be really exciting to kind of see how he develops. I really like Jeremy St. Hilaire from last year's class at quarterback as well. But got some real star power. We're going to start with the offensive side of the ball. Caleb Barnett, 3-star receiver that they were able to flip. Very super fast guy. Talked about him when he committed. Listed small, but he has 100-meter dash times under 11 seconds with a personal record of 10.44. He's also the reigning Oklahoma Class 6A state champion in the long jump with a personal record of 22 feet 11 and a half inches, or 22. I don't know how to read that. But anyway, he's a versatile guy, track guy, special teams, elusive, just an all-around great athlete, kind of an unknown, really. He was committed to Central Arkansas, and they were able to flip him. But he's somebody that is going to fill that Jade McGowan utility knife role, where he's just going to be, he has freakish athleticism, speed. He's going to, factor in the return game, probably especially punt returns. They need that. They were missing that. Martell Height was good, but I think it affected his abilities at corner at times. I think being in the return game kind of, took away from what he was able to do at corner a little bit, and they needed him more at corner than they did in the return game. So it's good to see somebody, and of course, in case of injury as well, Barnett's guy, I think, can be a real factor in special teams early on, and that's how he's going to contribute. LeBron Hill, talked about him when he committed, 3-star wide receiver from Indiana. He's 6'4". He can be that big, imposing target, that alpha guy that they need. He is, of course, getting in the weight room, he's going to have to, bulk up a little bit, but he's somebody that, again, can just command his presence on the field. So he's gonna be somebody that, as he develops, that's gonna be he's gonna be tough to match, because 6'4", 180, athleticism. He has some size. He's physical. He's going to use his hands, and he's going to command space, and he's going to attack the ball. So I'm really happy with that. 3-star Cameron Dixon, also at receiver from Texas, Corpus Christi, Texas. Again, another body out there. He is 6 foot, 170 pounds. He's he's a producer. He's slippery. He's another guy that probably more of a developmental guy. As far as route running and precision and things like that, understanding how to attack defenses, but he's a deep threat. He's a guy that he can just go, man. If you just need a shot play, he's a guy that hey, Cameron, go run a post route. Boom, go get it. And all that to say that doesn't mean he can't develop as a route runner or that like he's terrible. But if I had to pick something that he could develop better in, is the precision in his route running, because at the college level, that's how you get open. You don't get open on pure athleticism in college most of the time. You get open because you run elite routes and you have great footwork, which he runs good routes. He has good footwork, but he could improve in that. But excited to have him on board. Cameron Dixon from Corpus Christi, Texas. Jack Elliott, again, we talked about him. Gabe Fields at running back. This is somebody that I really like. He's a bigger guy, 6 foot, 200 pounds. He's an upright style of running, but His production as a receiver is good. Runs a 4.5. So he's got a little bit of speed for his size, physical, not afraid of contact. I don't love that going back to his running style, I don't love that he's more vertical, but he's a producer, man. He's out of Kansas City, Missouri. Love this signing. But the question about this offensive class, okay, not a ton, but the question is where's the beef, okay? And is it a problem that they're not signing offensive linemen? I don't think so, and I think there's been some debate on X going on, but I'm on the side of like now that the portal's a thing, and there's some really good offensive linemen and a lot of offensive linemen jumping into the portal. I think it's important to be able to go get those guys that are battle tested because it's such a crapshoot when you're looking at high school offensive linemen. You don't know what they're going to do. Most of the time they come in undersized and they have to sit anyway. So getting a high school kid on the offensive line is a bit of a project. And more times than not, especially in this portal era, you're going to lose them before you ever develop them and they contribute for you, unless they're just a special kind of kid. So I really like the idea of building our offensive line through the portal. Maybe get some guys that aren't on one and done type deals. I don't think Vandy could be too picky last year coming off the 2-10 season, but I think they can be a little more selective this year and a little bit more purposeful in who they get. So get some guys with some experience there, and I think all will be well. I don't think it's a big deal. People are like, oh, we didn't sign any linemen. Oh my gosh. But people forget portal's a big thing. So not a big deal. But anyway, Vandy got a lot of studs defensively. Excited about that. A lot of help in the secondary, which is needed. And we'll talk more about that next. All right, welcome back. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen each and every day. If you're not going to Creal Fall Bagel, where are you going? Because I guarantee you, wherever you're going, if you're a bagel eater, you're not getting a quality bagel, or at least a bagel that's as quality as Creal Fall Bagel. They're the best at what they do. Sourdough bagels, I never thought I would say that. I never thought I would like bagels because, growing up in the South, bagels aren't quite a thing, or at least where I was. It wasn't quite a thing, right? It was all about grits and bacon and, big breakfast where you just kind of feel worthless afterwards. But if you need the sourdough bagel, dude, it blew my mind. I ate one. I was like, this is the best thing. This is the best thing I've ever had. I would eat this thing plain. But they have tons of schmears to go with it. The schmears are the cream cheese. They have tons of flavors there, tons of flavors of bagels. So you can't go wrong at Creal Fall Bagel. So if you're missing out, you are truly missing out. And you better get on it and thank me later when you enjoy it. So anyway, thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen. Check us out on social media. Check me out on social media. Check out Creal Fall Bagel on social media. They're doing some great things too. But anyway, it's early signing period. Vandy got some studs. They didn't get any offensive linemen, but that's okay. They can build that through the portal. So, but what I really like is the fact that they were able to get 2 corners, 2 safeties, 2 edge guys, and I think a couple linebackers too. So this is amazing. This is an amazing class defensively because all these guys have speed. They all are just fast, aggressive, again, chip on the shoulder, versatile, right? So George Corey, he was the first guy on board. He's from Nigeria. He's been training. He didn't even play competitive football, so we don't know exactly what he's going to do in a football uniform yet. But he is, some of the camps he went to, the reps that he was winning, the training that he's getting is top notch. So I feel good about it. I think with some practice, I don't know that he'll jump in right away, but he'll contribute sooner rather than later. So George Corey is somebody I'm really excited about there. Josiah Broxton, this one fires me up, man, because this linebacker, he's an inside guy from Tallahassee. At 5'10", The reason why he is a 3-star is because he is 5'10" and not 6'2" as an inside linebacker. It doesn't mean anything. The guy runs sideline to sideline. He tackles with a purpose. He's extremely versatile. He can play inside. He can play outside. He can play a star position. He can do just about anything you need him to do. He even returned kicks at his high school, Florida High School, right? Florida State University School, actually, down in Tallahassee. And that dude was this is hilarious because like you watch him make like a sideline tackle from the mic position, and then the next clip is him returning a kickoff, and you're like, wait a second, is this the right guy? And then you're like, yeah, it is. So he had 117 total tackles, 26 for loss, 10 sacks, a pick, 4 PBUs, 2 forced fumbles, and 3 kick return touchdowns. Yeah, you heard that right. 3 kickoff return touchdowns. So his partner in crime is Austin Howard. Austin Howard was committed to Vandy, then decommitted, committed to Mississippi State. I think at one point was interested in Tennessee, but ultimately said, you know what? I'm going to go to Vandy. And the kid's out of Memphis, Bartlett to be exact. And he's exciting to watch, dude. He's a hitter. He's going to play probably inside linebacker. He's somebody that runs really, really well. He's got room to add to his frame. He's 6'1.5", 6'2", 226. I think he'll put on about 10 to 12 pounds of muscle, and you'll see him as the next great Vandy inside linebacker. I mean, the guy plays with a lot of moxie, a lot of purpose, a lot of just, whatever behind him. And he is freaking good, man. He runs extremely well. He chases the ball down, and he gets there with bad intentions, and that ball does not advance. So I really like what they have in Austin Howard. Now, if you look at the other edge guy, Jack Stanish, I think is 6'4", 230, real long, from Illinois. He flipped from Buffalo. So I think people get wrapped up. High school recruiting is not quite what it used to be. So like the thought of like competing with Buffalo for a recruit, I don't think has the same luster that it once did, whereas like, oh gosh, we're competing with Buffalo. Oh my gosh. Right. But I don't think that's necessarily it, because I think a lot more kids are getting overlooked in recruiting because the bigger schools aren't paying attention to high schoolers much anymore. If you're not in the top 100, if you're not an obvious selection, I guarantee you Northwestern was not looking at him. I guarantee you none of the Big Ten schools around him were paying him much attention, right? 3-star kid out of Naperville as an edge player, probably not paying attention to him. These MAC schools will jump all over that, right? And Vanderbilt, I think, saw something, and they really liked. So he's going to play probably the razor position. He's probably going to be more of like a Corday Sidnor type player, where he is. He's got his hand down, but he's versatile enough to stand up. I mean, he can do a lot of different things, but he's going to be tough. He's going to be a tough, not tough sell, but like he's going to be tough for offenses to deal with because he's somebody that's going to be probably better in the run than against the pass. And somebody that's good enough against the pass to stay on the field for 3 downs, but again, can be somebody that can sub in and run packages and really, really do some damage. So I really like this one. Cornerback position is something that needed to be addressed. Here's a scenario where I think 2 freshmen can get in: Caden Daniels and Van Zale Hinton. Okay, so Hinton from Paducah is somebody. He's a 2-way player. He has good size. He's explosive. 6'1.5", 6.5 feet for that. He's also somebody in the return game that can do some things, but he's somebody that can keep up with the speed of the SEC from the receiver standpoint. At corner, he's physical. I think he's an early contributor. I think he's somebody that can most definitely get on the field, given the depth and the situation at the cornerback position. I would not surprise me to see Hinton in the roster as a rotational guy at the very least, and then be a starter by the end of the season. This guy's good. His partner in crime, Caden Daniels, again, he took one visit and said, hey, this is a place for me. I see opportunity. I like what Clark Lee does on defense. Let's get this. And Caden Daniels, what I love from him is he's not afraid to hit. He's physical. And even though he's 5'11", 170, he'll come get you. And he plays like he's 6'4", 240. But he can also, he could also be something very solid in the at the cornerback position as well. And he might be more of a developmental guy given the depth that Vandy could have returning at the cornerback position. But he's somebody that also can be a factor in special teams. And with his willingness to tackle out on the edge, he could find his way into the lineup. Like, that's something that's needed at that position. So I'm really, really fired up about that one. Davin Chandler and Carson Lawrence. Whew, man, I'm excited about these two. Carson Lawrence is somebody that fired me up for a long time out of McCallie. 6'2", 194. Davin Chandler, pretty much the same exact size. He is 6'2", 180. Both playing the safety position. I think you have some versatility here. Field free safety for Davin Chandler. And I think Lawrence could probably go either way. Lawrence is probably the more physical guy, but he's also more of a playmaker. I could see Carson Lawrence playing kind of similar to CJ Taylor, and I could see Chandler playing probably similarly to where they plan on playing Dante Carter this year, and also where they plan on doing with or what they did with DeRicky Wright. And I can see Carson Lawrence being like CJ Taylor, or like even kind of like Randon Fontenette when they scoot him back a little bit. So these two safeties are just, they just come after you. They make plays. They got moxie. They got leadership. This is going to be a good class. The chip, the collective chip on the shoulder. I think this is going to be the class that you look at and go, this is the thing that kind of flipped Vandy a little bit. This core group of guys kind of led the charge, even amongst all these transfer portal guys. These guys kind of outlasted and became the core of the team. So that's all I got. I hope you enjoyed the early signing period. Don't freak out that Vandy didn't get any linemen. It's okay. They're getting them in the portal. And then the quarterback, I'm going to leave you with this. Roll the dice on Pavia. He got you to this point. Show him the respect. Roll the dice. But that's all I got. Hope to see you. We'll close out this week and get you into the weekend on tomorrow's edition. And we'll see you then. Anchor down. Behave yourselves.